Welcome to Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, the Liberated Lawyer. I help women to get everything they desire in life by equipping them with powerful strategies to achieve the fulfillment they desire and deserve. Who said you can't have it all? Clearly, they did not know about living life in the end. When women make powerful decisions and create great strategies, they can have everything they desire in life. Girlfriend, forget about choosing between being successful or fulfilled. You can be successful and fulfilled. It's time. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose. It's time for you to live a life that is fulfilled, meaningful, and full of joy. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. If you are going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the End, where you learn how to live fulfilled, fit, and free. It's time. It's time for Musing from the Mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life in the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. You know, I love the books by Jen Sincero, where she talks about how to be a badass. And I remember I read her first book, How to Be a Badass, in 2017. And then I read her book about how to make money like a badass. And most recently, I've been listening to her book about habits. And I was going through some old notes the other day and went across the list that she encourages us to do, which is to write our badass moments in life. And I went and looked over that list and I'm like, oh, wow. It was really great to see what I had characterized as badass moments. And as if you don't know, if you've not read any of Jen Sincero's books or don't know what it means to be a badass, it is a colloquial way to describe someone who is excelling at greatness. And, there are so many times in our lives when we've been real badasses, meaning we have really done something great, we have done something remarkable, and yet we don't give ourselves the credit. And so I wanted to encourage you today to take a moment and celebrate your badass moments. And I am amazed when I look back over mine. And of course, I've got more than I can add to that. And I don't remember when I wrote my first list, but when I look back over it, I realize that I'm a lot braver and have more courage and have accomplished more than I ever give myself credit for. And sometimes we think that being a badass, has to have a certain level of accomplishment. I don't know, being the CEO of a company, starting a new business, something that is gargantuan in effort, outcome, and impact. But really, when we're honest with ourselves, we're badass every day. Because every day we get up and we face this world and we put on our fabulous and whatever that looks like for us. Sometimes that's makeup and hair and outfits. Sometimes it's your pajamas. Sometimes it's sweats. Sometimes you might be fabulous in your birthday suit, but you get up and you face this world and you keep it moving. And it's so important for us to celebrate the bravery that we exhibit every day and to not discount that, to stop discounting that and thinking that because it's not whatever, I'm gonna put the air quotes out there, it's when we're comparing ourselves to someone else that we think is a badass and we've not done what they've done, and so we discount what we've done. We got to stop doing that, y'all. I always tell you, comparison is the thief of joy. And yes, we should be inspired by other women, and there are women who are doing great things every day that can inspire and encourage us. But they're doing their version of badass, and we're doing our own. Like when I look back over my list, it was things that were simple. I finished the Georgia Marathon in 2018. And it literally had 77 hills. I thought I was gonna die. My legs gave out on me at mile 24, and I kept pushing and I crossed the finish line. It was 1 hour longer than my goal for that race, but I did it. I finished. I didn't die. I think about when I moved to Atlanta in 2017 after my divorce to start my whole life over. Y'all, that took a lot, because if had I stayed in Huntsville, I would have been comfortable. I would not have had to exhibit change or to experience change. I could have made it. I could have made it work. I hated Huntsville, still do. But I chose to take a risk, and I'm so grateful that I did. That was a badass move. I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have a job. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that this was the place I needed to come to start over. I think about how I traveled to New York City alone for the first time in the summer of 1994. Yeah, I'm dating myself, but I remember that. Y'all, I went to New York City the summer after I graduated from college by myself, didn't know a soul in New York, didn't have cell phones, did not know how to navigate the city, but I navigated New York City on my own and had the absolute blast. I mean, it was like the best summer. And I remember, in 2018 when I passed the Georgia bar during one of the most desolate times of my life. Y'all, I was broke. I was so broke. I didn't even have I had at one point $1.16 to my name. I had I was down to like the last food in my apartment. Y'all, was making some creative dishes out of like whatever was left in the cabinet, whatever was left in the freezer. And I passed the Georgia bar. I passed the Georgia bar and then turned right around and studied for the MPRE, which is the Multi-State Professional Responsibility Exam, and passed that. I was so stressed out, so stressed out. And, I did so many different things in the midst of adversity. I am just so excited that when faced with adversity, I didn't give up. And, there are so many examples that you have experienced that are remarkable accomplishments that make you a badass. And so, what I just want to encourage you today is to take a moment to celebrate your badass moments. The moments when you have looked adversity straight in the face and overcome the situation. The moments when you have shown up to places unappreciated, underestimated, overworked, underpaid, and you performed with excellence. Those times when you have shown up in the middle of heartbreak and excelled and was able to not only do your job, but to excel at your job and to encourage others. The moment when you just didn't feel like getting up and wanted to stay in your bed all day and cover your head and pretend that the world around you wasn't whirling like the world has never whirled it before, but you got up and you faced the world and you took it on. We need to celebrate ourselves at every moment that we have. And it's not for the purpose of being frivolous or supercilious or even superficial, but to really relish and revel in our greatness. Because greatness comes in so many different forms. And it is important for us to recognize the greatness in ourselves when we see it, and especially when others see it and we don't. So, celebrating your badass moments can take the form of several things. The first thing is to literally write out what's your top 10? What are the top 10 badass moments you've had in your life? I love the list that I created. And when I look back on it, it is just really inspiring to me. So take a moment and write down what are the top 10 badass moments that you've experienced in your life. Seeing it in black and white is a great way to memorialize in your mind the fact that you have overcome, you can overcome, and that you have what it takes to be excellent in whatever situation. So that's one way to do it. The second way to celebrate your badass moments is to literally update your resume. And I know you're like, why would I update my resume? I'm not looking for a job. And isn't that just a list of jobs I've held? It is more than just a list of jobs you've held. Because I remember a few years back, I had to update my CV. And this was at a time when I thought I wanted to pursue a career in academia, because this was after I got my PhD, and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to take care of myself? Because I needed a job. And I do love teaching. And at one point, on several occasions, I have pursued the ability to teach in higher education. But I had to update my CV, and it was a historical CV. So I went all the way back to when I actually began my career as an attorney back in 1997 in Houston, Texas. And I looked at the jobs I'd held and the projects I had accomplished and the articles I had written and the seminars and webinars I had presented and the speeches I had done. And it was really remarkable to encapsulate at that point 25 years of my career on a piece of paper. And so many times we forget the greatness that we've accomplished because we do it every day. It's innate to us. It is second nature. It's just what we do and how we show up. But it's not until you go back and look at what you've done that you are able to see your greatness. And it doesn't matter if it is 6 or 7 sheets of paper or 1 sheet of paper. The point is to capture the history of what you have done, to show yourself the legacy that you are in the midst of creating and the fuel that will enable you to continue to create a legacy in years to come. So write a current resume or CV, and you don't have to do it in the traditional resume format. You can just get a piece of paper or get on your computer and just start typing out things. The point is to give yourself credit for the impact you have made. And regardless of how big or small the position you've held, you have made impact. I know one thing that I did, I don't know, as part of a coaching program, I think it was, but many years back, I was charged with writing down the lives of people I had impacted. And at first I was like, well, I haven't done anything. I'm just a mom and a wife at the time and daughter. I had done anything great. I'm not this or that. But then when I began to complete the exercise, I realized that I had touched the lives of real people and made a difference in their lives. And that's important for you to realize is that you matter. I always like to think about the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. It's an old movie about Christmas. And the main character is he owns a local bank that is under financial distress. They have to shut the bank down, and he's distraught about that. And he wishes he had never been born. And he's about to throw himself off the bridge when an angel comes and takes him back through his life without him in it. And he realizes how his presence matters. And when he sees how the world or his small town is without him in it, he realizes that he really matters and he really makes a difference. And understanding that you matter and that you make a difference is so important to fulfillment because a lot of times we think that we're making all this effort, we're working hard, we're doing this and that. Nobody cares, nobody appreciates it. It's not making a difference. I'm just going through the motions when truly what we do every day impacts the lives of other people. And it's important for you to realize that for two reasons. One, to celebrate the impact that you have, but also to know how you can continue to add value to others and to recognize that the value that you have added to one life lives on beyond that life, lives on beyond you. Because when you pour into other people, they in turn are able to pour into others who are able to in turn pour into